Hello and welcome. My name is Jeff Dryall. I'm the Solution Engineering Manager here at ScalePad, and it is my absolute pleasure today to share with you Lifecycle Manager. Lifecycle Manager is just one of the many products in the ScalePad portfolio, and I'm very interested to share with you all the very powerful functionality within the tool that will increase revenue, strengthen your client relationships, and improve efficiencies throughout your business. Let's take a look. Lifecycle Manager is essentially a product that is going to manage and retrieve and identify all the warranty statuses of all the equipment across your entire customer base. It starts off with integrations. Essentially what we're doing is we're going to be riding along the different MSP tool sets that you currently use today. By connecting through a multitude of different RMMs, PSAs, documentation tools, and even some vendor-specific integrations, this allows us to retrieve the asset information that we need so that we can perform a warranty lookup. Now, I will add that warranty lookup is just but a small capability of the Lifecycle Manager product. Essentially, what we're able to do is bubble up very valuable insights about the different devices across your customer base and the state of those assets so that you can identify different risks, different opportunities throughout your customer sites that are actionable right away. Let's take another look. If I pop into LM and I list the clients here, we can see that they're going to be laid out pretty much in the same way that they are for your RMM. I'm going to go ahead and click into BirdBrain Worldwide here. It's my favorite end user, whatever it is that they might do. And right away in this dashboard, we can immediately identify that they've got 4 servers that are over 7 years old. We've actually identified a server that is running an unsupported OS, probably server 2012 or something like that. We've also found that 5 of them are completely out of warranty. And since this particular integration supports the software asset management side, we're able to see assets that don't even have endpoint protection configured. Further, if you were to connect Lifecycle Manager with one of our other products called Backup Radar, we're going to be able to clearly see any assets that aren't being backed up or that don't have properly configured backups. That's actually applicable across workstations, VMs, and servers, as you can see here. Some of the latest integration work we've done is with Breach Secure Now, and we're working on a number of other cybersecurity awareness training platforms so that we can quickly bubble up to the surface information relative to end users that perhaps have not completed the security training, or perhaps users that have failed the simulated phishing test and thus require additional training on cybersecurity awareness. Further to that, as I click over into the Hardware tab, we're going to see all the assets throughout this client site. Most of this information is actually connected via the RMM and the PSA, as we're collecting the asset name, the serial number, the type, the manufacturer, the model. And of course, this information right here, the purchase date and warranty expiration dates, is the data that we're retrieving from over 35 different hardware vendors. We've been doing this for a very long time. Our roots, when we were a company called Warranty Master, we've been building on this sort of capability for over 8 years now. And it is unmatched in the industry. There are other tools out there that may indicate that they can get you purchase dates and warranty expiration dates, but nobody does it like Lifecycle Manager. And in fact, Lifecycle Manager is really good at generating client-facing reports. First off is the hardware lifecycle report. I love this report because it's very easy to see and identify an example of this client having 214 workstations and quickly and easily identifying that over 102 of them are actually overdue. And we'll actually break it down by individual asset through the rest of the report here. As you can see, the asset, the name, who's on it, what it is, what it's running, and if it happens to be running an instance of Windows that is no longer supported by Microsoft, we can see that right away in this report. Further, we can see the age of the asset, the purchase date, and the glorious warranty expiration date. As you can see, we paint it green on the far right there when the asset is in good shape for now. We'll further go ahead and paint it yellow when the expiration date is within a 6-month period. So that gives you an opportunity to prepare your client for potential life cycle ending on specific assets. And then, of course, we're going to go ahead and color it red when it's totally expired or perhaps crossed the life cycle period that you prefer to have for this particular client. You can actually dictate whether it's 3, 5, 6, or 7-year period for workstations before they turn red in the report. Very useful for finding that information. Further to that, one of my favorite features in Lifecycle Manager is actually the software management reports. Now, if you think of software as old, rusty, dusty apps taking up space on machines, using up resources, and just, getting in the way of the overall performance of those assets, Lifecycle Manager does a great job of identifying that information, because not only are we going to identify old instances of over about 300 of your top most commonly used applications, but we can also identify when those applications are expiring soon. Very useful data point to help you prepare for some of the work and effort that you might need to do for that particular client. Let's take a look at the report. Now, as you can see here, in the case of BirdBrain Worldwide, they've got about 3,800 software assets within their environment. And this report is immediately uncovering instances of Microsoft Windows and Apple that is an unsupported version of the operating system. Further, we can see instances of Office 365 that is not installed on many devices. And over here under endpoint protection, we can see assets that do not have endpoint protection installed, but taking that just a little bit further and identifying that the ones that were detected are actually unsupported by the vendor. Another valuable data point over here is identifying additional RMM agents that might be popping up on your customers' devices. But it doesn't end there. In fact, since this supports the top 300 most commonly used applications, as you can see here, I'm going to give you a couple of great examples. This is one of my favorite ones here, this Dropbox example, as this client is probably supposed to be on Microsoft 365, but for some reason, we've identified, not only have we found 19 instances of Dropbox, but 5 of them are legitimately unsupported versions as per that vendor. This is a really great data point because there isn't an RMM in the industry that gives you this information, let alone bubbles it up to the surface. Now, of course, any RMM tool can identify what applications are on an asset, how many there are, and depending on the RMM, even the versions of those applications. But the advantage here is that Lifecycle Manager points out for you that that version that was detected is a legitimately unsupported instance of that application as per the respective vendor. Let's take a look at a couple more examples. ESET endpoint encryption. Now, this is an interesting one because perhaps you bring on a new client and they think they're okay because they're running an ESET endpoint protection application from perhaps their previous MSP provider. And your goal as an MSP is often to work towards ensuring that your stack is aligned across your customers. And maybe that's not a particular endpoint protection application that you support or use. That being said, when you look at the report, RMM will also give you installs. RMM will tell you instances that are not installed on the assets. But the fact that we can identify the version that's there and show you that that version is unsupported by the vendor gives you a really useful case to perhaps continue to push that client towards your stack and get them on the endpoint protection that you would prefer. Here's another couple really good examples. Picking up on other remote control tools that aren't supposed to be there. Perhaps you don't use LogMeIn and you're finding instances of that application across your customers' assets. And here's another really good example, is this one here, Microsoft Firefox. Have you ever come across your customers' assets that are running some sort of old, antiquated, aged, unupdated instance of a browser? They're supposed to be using Chrome, perhaps they're supposed to be using Edge, but this instance of Firefox that also, as you can see, hasn't been updated, could contain a number of different extensions or bolt-ons that might be malicious, might be most commonly using up resources on that machine and potentially slowing it down for that client, which is no good. Wonderful report, very insightful, bubbles up very valuable data to the surface for you to action on. Opportunities and risk that are important to you as the service provider, as well as your client, to make sure that they remain as compliant and as up to date as possible. Moving on, I'd like to talk a little bit about what we call scorecards and roadmaps. Scorecards and roadmaps are used to contribute to your quarterly business review process. Many MSPs that I speak to don't deliver quarterly business reviews on the regular basis for most of their customers. And the reason for that is often because it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort. It's often an act of taking a bunch of reports from multiple sources and combining them together to provide some sort of legible presentation of the quarterly business review at hand. So what we have sought to do is clean up that time and effort, right? That little space between, hey, we found some things that are wrong with the client site, and now we need to present it to the client. Let's take a look at the scorecard. Now, as you can see here, this is a scorecard, and what's really great is if you look at this little section here is what I like to call a project indicator. Lifecycle Manager created these automatically, and all I had to do as the MSP is come in and score it and set the priority with the client. So we can see that we've got 3 out of 6 servers are 7 years old. We've got many of them that are out of warranty. Same idea with the workstations down here. As we can see, we've identified 61 that are out of date and old, and 151 out of 214 are actually out of warranty. So that works to identify an opportunity for you to replace that equipment or propose an upgrade, or in some cases, perhaps provide an extended warranty for those assets to kind of get a little bit more life cycle out of them for that client. Now, as I continue down, we can see that I've actually created a few of my own here, and I just quite simply wrote these out by hand. And I went ahead and created a section here called Core Infrastructure with a subcategory of Firewall Edge Security. Because as we assessed the environment, we found that this particular client is running a very old firewall that perhaps needs to be replaced in order to take advantage of more cutting-edge cybersecurity technologies in order to ensure the cyber posterity of this particular client. Here's another one I wrote out really quickly. RMM identified for us that there are many assets running an old, unsupported version of Windows 10. So perhaps we need to deliver a service around this for A, keeping the assets up to date, or perhaps needing to comply with some sort of cybersecurity framework that they need to ensure that they adhere to in order to stay up to date. Further, another one I wrote out here is, we found an old voice over IP system, and there's an opportunity to roll out a new voice over IP system. Maybe we need to do a physical assessment and walk around the site and make sure that they're physically compliant if it perhaps, again, comes down to some sort of cybersecurity framework that they need to adhere to. But really, the beauty and the point of this scorecard is to be shared with the client. So if I come into here, share with client, I can download this as a PDF, or I can present it. Idea being that you are in a Zoom or a Teams engagement with your client, and you want to review the different projects at hand or the different services that you intend to offer. As you can see, we get the Digital Maturity Index score here, which is essentially kind of like a credit score to represent the grade of the customer environment based on life cycle. And just a clear, colorful, concise representation of all the different projects and services that you want to deliver. No speeds or feeds or consumption percentages or trends or anything like that, just clarity and concise. And when the client looks at these and they realize, you're right, we're supposed to be replacing these old workstations, but maybe they don't have this kind of capital right now to deliver on, that's when you would then move the scorecard into what we call the roadmap. The roadmap actually provides a wonderful budget timeline or a budget forecast of sorts in where we can provide not only the project and the project cost, but how long or when it makes sense to deliver on the project. This is called an initiative. And very conveniently, within Lifecycle Manager, the executive summary is already written out, and it'll connect the relative assets to this initiative for you. Let's take a look at another example. I've got one here that says we need to upgrade workstations to a supported OS. And in this case, there's quite a lot of assets. So I actually have the ability to slice and dice and separate these assets over multiple quarters or multiple years in order to convey and illustrate the project at hand. Again, as I click into it, we can see an executive summary that's already written out and a nice convenient list of the assets that are in question. You as the MSP, you also have the ability to send this initiative off to your client so that they can approve it or not approve it. You can set the priority, and it's great because that sort of gives you the indication that this client would like to move forward with an official quote or an official estimation of the project at hand if it's applicable. So it really creates a net new way for you to engage with your clients when looking to review the different projects and services, the different hidden risk, hidden opportunities within those environments that you need to address effectively. Lifecycle Manager also contains what we like to call the services marketplace. Today, the services marketplace is made up of 3 different services. There's a warranty extension service where you can extend the life cycle of aged servers and networking equipment. The second one is called Workstation Assurance, where you can provide an accidental damage and advanced exchange service for laptops and workstations and Microsoft Surface. And the third, last but not least, is our new IT asset disposal program, where we will actually get rid of existing old assets that might have been collecting at your office or at your client's office, and we will come and retrieve that recyclable equipment, recycle as much as we can, and actually contribute to the environment by reducing the amount of toxic waste that goes into landfills. I'll expand on that in a little bit more in a moment. Now, if we take a look at the different servers in this particular site, we can see that there are 6 that are fairly aged, ranging from 5 years right up to almost 11 years old in this site. We offer a 4-hour on-site response service for these machines, and if you'll notice, we're getting a quote right here in the tool, which is very convenient. And you've probably noticed as well, the price for these extended warranties are considerably less expensive than a traditional OEM warranty. What you're doing here is providing your client with a ScalePad extended warranty. This is delivered by us as a service to you, the MSP. We give you the opportunity to take the service, mark it up as you please, and provide it to your client as a value add for their aging assets. This service has gained in popularity lately as a lot of your customers are working really hard to extend the life cycle of the assets that they already have in place. Now, if I scroll back up here, you can see that I have the option to mark up these warranties right here in app. We can see that we're going to have a sell price of here, and of course, your cost right here. You're also able to create a proposal right here inside Lifecycle Manager that is already branded with your brand. We can see that this is presented to BirdBrain Worldwide, and down here we can see the actual asset, the service, the term, and of course their end price right here in this quote. It's a wonderful little add-on that you can provide as another option for your clients to extend life cycle for those aged assets. On the workstation side, as you can see here, this is a wonderful service. The way it works is any workstation or laptop that is under 7 years old will qualify for advanced exchange that includes accidental damage. If you purchase 3 or more at a time, the price drops down to $79 a year for any of these assets. If you've got a client that's got a fairly considerable fleet of devices that are approaching end of life cycle, and perhaps it's not in the cards for them to replace them because it's just too expensive, the fact that you can offer them this advanced exchange and accidental damage service for as little as $79 a year, not only does this make for an incredible service for you to deliver, but it's actually profitable. You can mark this up as much as you want, and I've seen anywhere from 50 to even 100% markup on this kind of offering, because again, this comes in at about a fraction of the cost from Dell or HP or Lenovo or what have you. Wonderful service. Last but not least, our IT asset disposal program. This is an easy way to securely dispose of end-of-life assets. We are happy to take just about anything off your hands. We don't want your printers though, but whether it's servers or tablets, switches and monitors, IP phones and scanners, we are more than happy to show up at your location or your client's location and remove these aged assets from that location 100% free for Lifecycle Manager subscribers. We actually have 2 levels of offerings: self-service for smaller shipments, typically under 75 assets, and that just means that you or your client's going to have to do the packaging, put them in the boxes, and get them ready for the courier, whereas the full service actually includes us providing a bit of a white glove service where our guy will show up on site, package up all the assets for you or your client, and remove them from the premises completely free of charge. As I mentioned, This service is free of charge. And what's really great too, if there's any assets that contain a hard drive, we will actually delete the data through NIST-compliant data destruction practices and provide you with a certificate of data destruction. Again, 100% free. I can't stress that enough because this is a wonderful service that you might actually be able to monetize to your client. Further, I will add, for any asset that we dispose of, any workstation you protect, or any server of which you extend the warranty, we're going to go ahead and plant a tree. We launched this program back in April 2023, and since the launch of the program, we have planted over 36,000 trees and over 61 acres of land reforested. This is our opportunity and our approach to going a little bit green and giving back to the environment just a little and heavily reducing the amount of toxic waste that goes into landfills today. Very, very cool service. Now, Lifecycle Manager is really just one of the many products within the ScalePad portfolio. If you'd like to learn more about Lifecycle Manager, you're more than welcome to reach out. Also, if you'd like to learn more about some of our other products like Lifecycle Insights, Backup Radar, Cognition 360, or Control Map, please feel free to reach out. Again, my name is Jeff Dryall. I'm the Solutions Engineering Manager here at ScalePad, and it has been my pleasure to deliver this demo to you. Thank you, and have yourself a great day.